Hey, you all ready for this? I'm gonna step back a second here. And off camera, probably. Hello, track gang. As you saw, there was an odd-looking train that just went through the picture there. It happens to be Saturday, January the 30th, 2021, and this happens to be the beginnings of vlog number 5. And yet another how do do that or layout update, however you want to look at it. Been doing some work. My patrons, which there's only 2, thank you guys very much. I'm going to have a little bit of a slide or a mention later on to those that have gone ahead and joined up on the Patreon side. But I kind of gave them a sneak peek as to what I was working on this week. Sneak peek as to what I was working on this week. I was a poet and didn't know it. Anyway, yeah, what I was working on this week. I guess, as most of you know, I was in touch with Anthony from the Georgia Sun Belt last year. And because I was looking at doing, because of the fact I think outside the box, let's put it that way, doing something that is fairly new, I guess, on the railroading, model railroading thing. I decided I was going to use the Woodland Scenics foam roadbed. Now, before I get too far into it, I will tell you this is some good stuff. I do like this. It's been fairly easy to work with, but I found something that I wasn't prepared for. And I was mentioning it with the Sidetrack Sunday crew on our wonderful chats that we have. That I think, unlike the cork, this stuff isn't even. In other words, what I'm talking about is the width. So on one side of this, it's like 7/8 of an inch, and the other side's an inch. Which means it doesn't actually line up dead center on the center line. The other thing is I thought that you were supposed to use this very similarly to what you would use with cork. And one of the things they talked about with cork roadbed for years is to make sure that you stagger the joints. Well, I probably should have looked online and seen how this stuff was put down because, well, I started doing that and quickly found out that because these don't line up, if you mix and match, guess what you end up with? You end up with zigzags. It's not a huge issue to me because once you put ballast over top of this stuff, you're never going to see it anyway. So, let me go ahead and actually swing, well, I'm not going to swing the camera, we're actually going to take a walk with the camera. And I'm going to show you what I've got done up to this point and I might even go in and show you how I've been laying this stuff down. But without further interruption, let's go ahead and we'll stop here for a minute, and we'll stop here for a minute, and we'll take a walk. Okay. As before, I'm using the Logitech PL300 to put this stuff down. It's the same stuff that I used to put the white foam down. So this is where we're at. We've made it to this point here, and we started. I love the fact that I've got this light. I tell you what. And we started back here. Now, the reason why it stops right there is because from that point on is basically hidden trackage. So from here back down the backside here, of course, we've talked about this. That's all hidden. This may actually end up being hidden as well, but I'm not 100% certain on that yet. But I figured that was a good place to start. So we come out this way, and I did put a filler piece underneath the crossover there. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to come back and work on, obviously, is there's a heck of a transition here from the foam road bed to the actual foam, which isn't a big deal because this is not going to stay foam. If you remember correctly, that's the reason why we've got cork, sheet cork, to be honest. That's what's going to end up underneath of here eventually, and I just noticed that the camera's drifting on me. And yes, Engineer Beethoven's been down here helping me again. So, we're good, like I said, all the way up to here. This is where I basically stopped, and I stopped here right before dinner. I hadn't done a whole lot, but tonight this is what I did. So, anyway, we're going to stop here for a minute, and I'll get it set up so we can actually watch how this is done. Actually behind the camera, and I'm going to swing around to the front here. Anyway, so one of the things that Woodland Scenics does recommend, though, that you do split this if you have to make a corner, because it doesn't really bend all that well. So I've already split one, and I just happened to notice that this is not exactly a curve here for some reason, but that's okay. I gotta trim that anyways. This piece is gonna get flattened. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, because I've got marks down here from the other night, and I'm just gonna spread. Of course, it would help if I got some of this dried stuff off the end. Now, it looks like I'm putting down quite a bit, and that's because of the fact that in reality I probably am. But that's where this comes into play. And I should have cleaned this off too before I got started. But that's okay. It'll be alright. It'll be alright, mate. Anyway, if you're wondering what that noise is, that is the bridge that hides the electrical that comes over to the layout from the electrical panel. It's not exactly even apparently, and depending on how you step on it, it rocks. Alright. So we're just going to line that up there. I didn't go quite far enough. looks pretty good. Go ahead and we'll lay the other side. That is one of the things I am noticing though with this foam adhesive, and that is the fact that once you have this kind of laid in place, it'll stay. I mean, it's pretty much staying where I wanted it. However, I do take a couple of track nails just to kind of hold it in place in a couple of spots until it dries. Of course, you could probably sit here and put, you know, a heavy weight on it or something of that nature. But since I've got the track nails handy from actually holding the track in place, we'll just pin it down like that. That's it. That's that. So I just noticed that this one here is not sticking. Probably because I didn't put any glue up underneath of it. I'll just take what's on the end. And I want to you know what? I'm trying to think if I want to even that up or if I want to leave it staggered like that. I don't guess it really makes a difference because as soon as you get over to the street, it's going to be cattywampus anyways. So 6 1/2 dozen the other, I guess. Well, let me go ahead and let's just rip up another section of this. Get it ready. And all I'm doing is I'm just kind of folding it over. There is a crease already kind of cut into this, which makes this somewhat easier. Although you could take a knife, which I had been doing as well. A very sharp utility knife or a hobby knife would probably work too. And we'll just go ahead and, I know I don't have the glue down yet, I'm just making sure that I can get this or get it down to where I want it. And I can see that I'm going to have to take some other tracks up, which is what I wanted to see, which I knew. I'm not sure how you can't even see this. Let me go ahead and back up a little bit more. There we go. All right. bit high. And yes, a putty knife probably would work better if you actually had one that wasn't completely destroyed from doing other jobs. And of course, it's not a good time to think about it after you've already started the project. And well, we're not going to go any further than that. And that, as they say, is that. Now, why did you trim that up? Well, because from this point, we're going to go try and go flat with the next pieces. So, may have to kind of trim this one. Now, I think I can probably, yeah, I can line it up on that. Yeah, we can do that. And that one here will line up on that. So there you go. Sort of I guess how it gets done, maybe. We'll see how the rest of it plays out. I don't know why that, well, that's because I didn't get any cool. I don't know why that's not sticking. Okay, never mind. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and continue this all the way around to the bridge. Probably won't get it all done tonight, but that's my plan, is to get this section completed over to there and then start working the rest of the way around. So we'll be back. Well, good evening again, or yeah, it's evening for me, track gang. Been, as you know, I finally started the other night putting down the foam road bed. I kind of showed you all what was going on with that. Now, it is now Tuesday, February 2nd, and it's done. We are 100% done on the main line, from just outside of Newtown, or Newton's farm, all the way down to the south end of Boeville. And I've already had the trains running, the Blackjack and the 4828, and they run. I did find I've got two issues, and they're both on the southbound main. One's right outside of the yards, and the other one is right outside of Boeville. Apparently I've got a couple of bad rail joints, or rail joiners, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that. One of the other things that I still have to go back and do is I have to fix the crossovers or the crossing areas, because I've only got a slim piece of the foam roadbed sitting up underneath it there. I need to make it a little bit wider in certain places. But overall, I didn't show it towards the end. I showed the very beginning what I was doing, and I actually changed methods part of the way through. One thing is after I finished off this tube of foam glue, I went ahead and on the next one, instead of cutting this at an angle, I actually cut it off straight and just laid a bead. And then literally pushed the foam roadbed into that. And one of the other things that I was doing is, instead of cutting everything up and then trying to figure out where it went, I was actually just going step by step, which worked out well. It actually worked out very well. I did run into a couple of spots, and once I cleaned things up here a little bit, Jerry Sachs challenge, hashtag, because right now the layout is a complete disaster in places because I've got tools and stuff strewn all over the place. I did end up with a couple of spots that I'm not real happy with, but there isn't a whole lot that I can do about it. I knew it was close, and what I'm talking about is, and I know you're probably not going to be able to see it, so I'm not even going to bother, is where the track was close to the sub-road bed, the white foam road bed. There isn't a whole lot that I could do about that. It was just a way that I went ahead and trimmed it back, and I trimmed it back too much. There's a spot out here in front where I'm going to hopefully have some sort of a stream or river seam that I'm going to have to do some finagling with, because the foam roadbed is actually hanging over the white foam, and there is a spot over here by Weichert Industrial that's really bad. And I've got some extra white foam. I can always go ahead and put it up underneath there, trim it back. So it's not a huge problem, but it was one of those things that you gotta think. You gotta you gotta plan for it. What's really funny, and some people would be like, why did you even bother doing it this way? Is I had a plan. And of course, we've talked about this in the past. We all have plans. We put plans on paper. It looks great. You start building the thing and realize it don't fit, or that can't go there, or no, this isn't going to look right over here. So you have to make changes. Well, when I first put this all together, that's exactly what I did. I laid the track straight to the plywood, marked it, and then I came back and laid the white foam. And believe it or not, but every time that this track plan comes apart and goes back together, it doesn't go back together the same way it comes apart. And that really concerns me, because I've got to take it apart one more time to actually get the track semi-permanently laid to now what is the roadbed. I can tell you one of the things that I'm very happy to say, this stuff is a great sound deadener. I'm telling you. I've never dealt with the foam, the cork per se, but this stuff is incredible. So kudos to Woodland Scenics. I mean, they've obviously been at this game for a while. And yeah, I know there's people out there that have said, don't use it, it doesn't hold spikes, don't use it, that doesn't work, don't. I think what it really boils down to, and of course, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm an expert when it comes to this stuff, because I'm not. As you all know, this is the first time I've actually ever done anything like this. But it really does come out nice. And one of the things, and Woodland Scenics will tell you this stuff stays flexible no matter what. Try doing that with cork 5, 6 years from now. That's not going to happen. It's going to crumble in your hands. So, as far as that goes, perfect. The next big thing will become, once I get this down permanently, is going to be putting the ballast on it. That's when we're going to see this stuff really, how well it works, or it doesn't work. So, I'm going to go ahead and clean a couple things up here real quick. And then we'll take a quick tour around the layout. And I'll show you those couple of spots that I have to go back and do some touch-up work on. And then we're going to call this a vlog, so we'll be back. Not there, Ray. It's right. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but whoop, I just switched hands here. There is a bit of a gap there, and it goes all the way over to where the switch is over here. That's one spot. And that one there, we get a little bit of an issue here, and that's because if you remember, I had to replace this piece of foam because this piece of foam the original piece had an issue. This area back here is still going to be somewhat of I think a bit of a problem. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that, but it is what it is. Of course, and this is what I was talking about. If you see, there is white between here, and that's because I've got to go ahead and I've got to make a thin strip to go up underneath that cross, and I've got a couple spots that are like that. That was one. This one here is another. However, I can say that the transition isn't too bad. Obviously, I had to raise this piece up to make the transition, but I think we're pretty much good all the way over here. If you notice, I left the roadbed a little long because it's going to meet up with the bridge, and I actually do have little footers up underneath the bridge on both sides. So that's good. The one thing, and if you notice, there's an extra footer up over here. That's because this was a long gap. I mean, the other side is the same way. I'm probably going to end up having to putting one on the opposite end as well for the time being until I put the scenery in. Same issues here. I haven't even bothered filling this in yet, as you can see on either side. This one here ended up being a little bit different because of the siding over here. This roadbed's over a little bit more. So, and then of course we've got another overhanging issue here. This one here is a little deeper. But then again, like I said, I knew that those were going to be a problem. I actually ended up from this straight section here all the way over to this switch on the outer loop. I ended up replacing that whole thing because the track was bent. I have no idea how, no idea why, but I could not get it to lay straight. So I pulled the whole shooting match out and started over. There's a little flaggy here to tell me that this is where I've got a bad rail joint. And as you can see, it's the same thing. I haven't put the stuff up underneath the crossovers yet. This transition, obviously, I have to do something with, and that is the whole point behind that roll of cork down there. That'll be part of that. Moving on along. This one here, I actually did do the fill. So that one's done. And then this is where it stops. And I probably should have started where it started. That would have made sense. And this is the other side. And there's another spot that I have to work on this line. And I have a transitioning issue I have to fix here as well. I knew that. I just had to find a better way of, right now it's just these things with a piece of track stuffed up underneath of it, just to make it so that it doesn't bend and flex too much. So, anywho, that's kind of the tour at the moment. Oh yeah, we did have one other area that's got a little bit of an overhanging issue, but that's okay. We'll get there. Well, you know what they say, the second time's a charm, as the light fly. I don't know why it does that. It does that when I first turn the battery on. So anyway, for whatever reason, the camera didn't record the last outro, so I'm going to do it again, which is fine because I forgot about one thing. I was talking about a couple of things that I had done with the foam roadbed, and I'm going to explain. I'm going off camera. I'm sorry, but I found a better way of cutting this. Now, if you're just going to go ahead and make even it up, the hobby knife or the utility knife is definitely the way to go. To make straighter cuts, pair of scissors. And this, I mean, you can go right down the center line or the perforation, and I don't know how well, or if it's going to show up at all, but there is a line in here. And with the scissors, you can follow that line very easy. Of course, I got a third of the way through this thing and realized, hey, a pair of scissors would probably work out a lot better than trying to cut that with a knife. So, tip, there you go. If you're going to use the foam roadbed, use a pair of scissors. If you want it to be, you know, almost laser straight. I think that pretty much wraps up going ahead and putting down the foam roadbed. There was one other thing, I'll show it on the next go round. I talked about this PL, the PL300 glue, foam board adhesive, I should say. This is from Logitech. This stuff works very well for the foam roadbed and for the foam. So if you're going to do similar to what I've done, that's probably not a bad way to go, and it does give you some working time. And one of the things I found out on the north end of the layout over here, there was a spot where this white foam was sticking out a little bit further than it should have, and I wanted to put that one hill back in that corner. Well, it didn't fit right, and I finally figured out why, and it was because, like I said, the white foam was sticking out too far, and that had already been glued. Guess what? It came up. So this stuff, not only is it, if you're not prying against it, it's very stable, it sticks very well. If you have to modify it, it will come back up. And of course you saw that I was peeling this stuff off of this popsicle stick. It obviously does not stay stuck to this very well, which is good. Because if you have to make modifications, you can. So, you know, that's another one of those things. I think there are other glues out there that are a lot more permanent than this. I guess if you're one of these people that does things perfect the first time around, great. If you're like me and you screw stuff up on a consistent basis, then you probably want something that you can go back and modify. Anyway. There's going to be a quick little shout out thing here at the end for my two patrons. I do appreciate the support. If you're interested, the links are at the bottom. They're in the description. I have a Teespring store. I have the Patreon page, and I have a PayPal.me. Anything that comes in to any of that goes back to having contests and helps me to go ahead and fix the tech for the layout. And not so much for the layout, but for the stuff that's over there, you know, like the light and the camera and things of that nature. Very little of that will go towards that. The biggest part goes towards contests, to which, that reminds me, I've been holding 400 subscribers, and I think I've picked up a couple more. Next vlog will also have shout-outs for the new subs to the Boeville and Newtown. But this video is going on long enough, folks, and I'm sure I've probably lost a few people by now, so you all know the deal. Wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see ya. Hopefully it recorded this time.